Force is what gives the Jedi his power. But what exactly can it do and when? What are its capabilities and its limits? Hello and welcome to Sabacc Chat. Ken and I are discussing the varying depictions of the Force throughout Star Wars and attempting to answer some of these questions whilst playing Sabacc. Why can't Jedi explode the brains of all their enemies at once? Or explode planets with their mind?
That's not how the Force works, Garth.
Why?
Well, not necessarily explicit. There are rules to the Force. When George Lucas was asked, "What's your biggest concern regarding the selling of the Star Wars franchise to Disney?"
Right.
Lucas responded by saying his biggest concern was that the Force might become, quote, muddled into a bunch of gobbledygook. So if it could get muddled, there must be an existing coherence to it in the first place. Do you think that the Force has become muddled into gobbledygook since Disney's takeover?
No, not gobbledygook. Not yet.
I agree.
Don't forget you're blind.
Oh yeah. Wasn't it always changing? The introduction of the midichlorians, for example. The Force has undergone many developments. I'm not sure if you know this, but in the first draft of Star Wars, it was referenced to as the Force of Others. King Kaios was the ruler of the planet Aquili, and the
May
father...
the Force be with you.
Oh, Oh yeah. May the Force be with you. As I was saying, he was the father of Princess Leia. Kaios meets with the senators of Aquili after Kain Starkiller arrives with his son Anakin regarding the threat of Imperial invasion. He bids the senators, "May the Force of Others be with you." This is the first mention of the Force, here in Lucas's rough draft of Star Wars.
Some familiar names there. Force of Others. Interesting. Why others?
Lucas intended the Force to be a non-denominational stand-in for all religions and spiritual concepts. Also, as you may know, he wrote Star Wars while living in San Francisco in the 1970s, which was a major hippie commune. Notions of peace and love, anti-war, and a kind of metaphysical connectivity were prevalent. 25.
C25, make it 100.
100? Seems like a bluff to me. Well, our topic is inconsistencies. What have you noticed that is inconsistent with depictions of the Force?
I've noticed that in Episode 4, New Hope, Luke has never heard of the Force until Obi-Wan tells him, and then moments later, Luke asks Han incredulously,
"You don't believe in the Force, do you?"
why would he think Han should believe in it when he only heard of it himself for the first time moments ago?
No shift. Yeah. I think that they've been talking about it for a while leading up to that point on the Falcon. Luke was going through his exercises and Han was kind of in the background scoffing. Luke finally gets a bit annoyed with Han and says, "Oh, what's the deal, Han? You don't believe in this?" He wasn't saying it like, "You don't believe in the Force?"
100. I don't know, having just heard of it himself, Luke might have more realistically said, "You've heard of the Force, Han?"
Triplet.
Triplet, he says.
Yeah, make it 300. Anyway, this isn't really the type of inconsistency I'm talking about. This might be an inconsistency, but I'm talking about the power of the Force and its use.
Call.
In physics. Okay, here's an example.
Physics.
In The Empire Strikes Back, Luke does a Force jump in Cloud City to escape the carbon freezing, right? It's a fairly high jump.
Right.
Vader calls it impressive.
Most impressive.
In the 2003 Clone Wars, Mace Windu jumps extremely high, like as high as a skyscraper. But then, in Revenge of the Sith, why doesn't Anakin jump that high when he didn't have the high ground? He could have jumped in theory. He could have just jumped to the higher ground.
That's not canon, Ken. The 2003 Clone Wars cartoon is not canon. 400.
Well, there are other instances of the Force jump in canon. Jedi are jumping all the time. Call 400.
The only thing I know about jumping is the song Everybody Jump by House of Pain syncs up with the speeder chase in Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
What?
If you start the track right here, right after Chewie shoots the trooper trying to get away, get set for a wild ride. Oh, and what the heck, Alderaan.
And that's the only thing you know about jumping?
Yep.
That song. Okay, how does it sync up?
Well, like, Luke jumps the first time they say jump around, Leia shoots to kill, a trooper goes out like a punk bitch, and many, many more.
I'll have to try that.
Many more.
I'll stand.
I have 21.
Oh, looks like we have a sudden demise situation here. I have 21 as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay, I'll deal us each one more card. For you, the commander of flasks. You, sir, have bombed out. And for me, the 5 of sabers. Oh. Damn, 2 bomb outs. Okay, let's move this shit into the Sabacc pot.
My deal.
Alright. Well, jumping back into Star Wars canon, virtual particles are a theory in physics. Simply, they are temporary excitations of the underlying quantum field. They're excited. They temporarily act like real particles in some respects. Maybe Jedi are utilizing virtual particles when they jump.
I don't think it has to do with that. Here's your cards.
Of course it has to do with that. It's physics.
You keep mentioning physics. I'm not sure where you're going with this.
I'm trying to compare the Force to our physical laws to account for these inconsistencies.
Well, it's just whack. The people are here for science fiction, not a damn science lesson.
You don't need to cuss me out.
Sorry.
Colin Ray's 100. Here's another inconsistency in canon.
Alright, okay.
In Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan and Anakin sense the presence of millipedes in Padme's bedroom.
Right.
In A New Hope, Vader senses Obi-Wan's presence aboard the Death Star, and yet neither of them sense Darth Sidious.
Right.
And many Jedi don't sense Order 66 even when there is clear and present danger.
Yeah.
So how does this sensing work? Well, scientist Michael Faraday posited that the theory of the electromagnetic field, one of the fundamental forces in physics. The field is basically a condition of space that extends indefinitely and emanates from electrically charged objects. Disturbances in this field can be sensed by some sharks.
Sharks. Oh, you mean like a carcharodon?
Yeah, possibly. Sharks have electroreceptors in their noses that let them sense disturbances in the electromagnetic field. Be it a swimmer, a boat, a fish, and so on. The carcharodon are a shark-like species. Looks like they were modeled after great whites.
Yes, they were. In Season 4 of the Clone Wars, the carcharodon, most notably Commander Riff Tamson, fought for the Separatists at the Battle of Mon Calamari. Tamson, a ruthless warlord, took orders from Count Dooku, who wanted to take the planet for the Separatists by upsetting the fragile peace between the Mon Calamari and the Quarren.
Blind, please.
Alright. Tamson managed to get into the throne room of King Yas Kalina of Mon Calamari and skewer the king with a staff, killing him.
Maybe they should have beefed up their security.
Hey, show some respect.
That wasn't disrespectful. So, Tamson assassinated the king.
Yes. I'll stand.
Didn't even get a chance to bid his senators, "May the force of others be with you."
No. Then at the end of the 3-episode storyline, Tamson got what was coming to him. He was blown up. 50. Do you think he and his people, the carcharodon, could have these special electroreceptors that make them sensitive to the electromagnetic field?
Triplet.
That's 200. 150 if you want to triple.
Okay. Triplet plus 50. Anyway, it appears the carcharodon are amphibious. They can live on land or in water. So possibly they could have these special receptors. Electroreceptors are primarily a trait of aquatic animals with some notable exceptions, such as bees, the cockroach, and the platypus.
His death was a good thing for the galaxy.
Faraday says magnetism affects rays of light and that there is an underlying relationship between these phenomena, magnetism and light. Regular light is a form of electromagnetism, in fact. If the Jedi sense variations in something like the electromagnetic field, though, for example, light, maybe they don't necessarily sense everything that happened in that field.
So that's a scientific explanation for why they didn't sense certain things happening on the dark side?
Yeah, and on a related note, I figured the Jedi presence sensing ability must be related to our sense of hearing, because our inner ear evolved the same way as electroreceptors in sharks. So Jedi sensing must be most like hearing of our 5 senses.
More science. 2 words. Dathomir, magic. The Night Sisters of Dathomir use straight up magic. Remember? Mother Talzin's crystal ball, the casting of spells, and the Night Sisters straight up turns into a raven. That's magic. Good luck explaining that.
It's not canon, Garth. The Ewok adventure, the battle for Endor, is not canon.
It's magic, though.
Bet 150.
The Force is magic. 150?
Yep.
I call.
Alright, forget about that. Let's move on to telekinesis. The manipulation of objects with the mind.
Right, well, what aspect of telekinesis? I stand.
Yes, telekinesis has a few applications in Star Wars. Check. Including but not limited to force choke, force push, force pull, force lift.
My garage door lifts. My garage door lifts, that's science. You can add that to your science discussion.
Okay, yeah, we will discuss that. But we'll also discuss force shove, force rend, force throw, force slam, force catch,
150.
force disarm, force sleep, force spinorama, force thrust, force wave, force tug, force levitate, and force pummel. However, Newton's third law of physics, all in. Newton's third law of physics states that every action produces an equal
and opposite reaction.
Yes, an action equal in magnitude and opposite in direction.
Okay.
So what could be happening in the Jedi's mind making up for the opposite direction? Either Newton is wrong or something happens in the Jedi's mind opposite when objects are moved through telekinesis. Could Newton be wrong?
No, I don't think Newton's wrong in our world, but I believe Yoda says size matters not. Look at Yoda. You believe he's a size, do you? If that's not canon, I don't know what is. Therefore, telekinesis definitely cannot be measured through our laws of physics. They're just not related.
So, what are you doing here?
What the hell? I'm trying to figure out what to do. You traded your first card. You traded, then bet 150, then added. So the 150 was either a bluff or a semi-bluff. Did you get the small card you were looking for? Is this all a wild bluff? Then you checked.
What about gravity? Gravity accelerates all objects on Earth at the same rate regardless of their size. Size matters not in that sense. What if brainwaves could affect the direction of gravity?
I have an inconsistency for you.
That you're folding? That's typical. 13. What's your inconsistency?
In the Rancor pit, instead of using telekinesis, Luke throws a skull to hit the control panel to make the gate come down. He could have flipped the switch with the Force, in theory.
Good one, buddy. Well, I think the answer is that it takes concentration, and Luke was in a panic. Even though size doesn't matter, it still requires focus to use the Force.
Right.
Blind, please. The Rancor pit represents Luke's confrontation with the finality of death before confronting Vader and the Emperor in the final act. Vader was the person who, from a certain point of view, killed Luke's father, like Claudius, who killed Hamlet's father. It's this finality of death that Luke learns, and he's dressed in black to emphasize it.
He's dressed too brightly, if anything. 200.
By brightly,
Like
I
the
mean...
sun. Just like the son of Vader.
I think we should look at one other inconsistency. I'll call it 200.
I stand.
Hear a lot about this one. Everyone's always banging on about it. The use of force speed in Episode 1. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan dodge out of the way of the droid decaf fire near the beginning of the movie, but near the end, Obi-Wan doesn't use the same speed to get through the laser blinds, so he and Qui-Gon can keep up their double team against Darth Maul. Why not? He just didn't think to use force speed? Was he too tired?
Being too tired would be a good scientific explanation. You're supposed to hydrate, stretch, and have carbs prior to vigorous exercise. I saw no evidence that Kenobi did any of these. All in.
Well, I know you're on tilt here. So could it be that you run out of force energy like a life bar in a video game?
No, there's no running out of the Force. Don't you know the power? I mean, Vader says famously, the ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force. Destroying a planet, it's like a Porg next to a Rancor. I mean, the Force is tremendously huge, right? I mean, you don't just run out of it like a gas cylinder.
Call? Okay, well, I stand.
I stand.
Yeah, Luke says, as well in The Last Jedi, It's so much bigger. The Force is bigger than even Luke realized at the end of Return of the Jedi, or even that Obi-Wan realized.
Yeah, I have 20. Beat that.
Yeah, Vader seemed to have an idea when he made that comment.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Just like my cards. You're not going to like this.
What do you have?
21.
Yeah, the Force is absolutely huge. Well, that was a frustrating game for me. I shouldn't have bet so big there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have bet so big.
Don't lose your patience. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
I apologize to you here.
Don't forget to like and leave a comment below.
Thank you.
I lost everything.
Whenever you gamble, my friend, eventually you'll